Right now I'm standing in front of the first generation 2005 Toyota Fortuner. Though this was introduced in the Indian market around 2009, it was based on the indestructible Hilux platform. But as time passed by and the competition grew, the Fortuner always lacked something special, especially in the interiors, where it was always regarded as utilitarian. But now, in 2016, Toyota thought of giving us this. So this is the second generation Fortuner, and it is codenamed the AN160 by Toyota. As you know, this is a body-on-frame SUV. And speaking of frames, Toyota totally has 3 frames in their system. The number one is the F1, which is for the Land Cruiser LC200. Then the F2, which is for the Prado. And this is the F3 for the Fortuner. So this time around, the F3 has grown larger in size, almost as longer as the F2 platform, which is the Prados. At the same time, the structural rigidity of the frame has also increased, and overall making it perform in a much stronger manner. So with this increase in size of the frame and betterment in the structural rigidity, the flip side is that the weight has gone up in the new Fortuner, which is not really a bad thing. You will know why in the later part of the review. Okay, coming to the engine options. This one here is the 2.8 litre diesel, whereas the older Fortuner had the 3 litre D4D engine. That was a 1 kd block. This is an all-new GD series engine, and when they were designing the GD series engines, they had totally 3 things in mind. One was optimization of the engine structure by actually doing a right sizing, not downsizing. Downsizing is right now not much word used these days, but right sizing is. So from 3 litre, they've right sized to 2.8 litre. That was a correction in displacement. The second point was use of better airflow technique to give in more 11% more airflow to the engine. And also the turbocharger used is now 30% smaller but 50% faster in response. So that actually has aided the entire performance of the GD series engines. And thirdly, they targeted better emissions and hence cleaner diesel engine technology with this new GD series engines. So this engine firstly came in the 2015 facelifted Land Cruiser Prado. Then it came into the Hilux, then the Innova, and then finally the all-new Fortuner got fitted with this engine. To spell out the specs, this is having 175 horses with 420 Newton meters of torque. And though it is 30 Newton meters less to the automatic counterpart of the Fortuner, but this manual gearbox compensates everything with the right gear changes at the right time. This car will be definitely much faster than the automatic one. Okay, to play around with all this power and torque, what you get are these 3 modes: power, eco, and the comfort mode, which modulate the throttle response. They do not actually change the engine mapping, but only the throttle response to get the maximum performance of the engine, like in the power mode. And likewise in eco, it is a much subdued power delivery, but very less jerky and really soothing to drive in. Again, between the eco and the normal mode, there is hardly any difference. So the major difference is between the eco and the power mode. I truly enjoyed the power mode to the max because it really brings out the real character of the engine. And honestly, one point I wanted to mention in the power mode was that the throttle setting is slightly off in a way wherein the car realizes late that I've lifted my leg off the throttle, and it keeps on going for that extra half a bit of second, which might be slightly uncomfortable and may take time to get used to. Okay, we pulled over at a quiet stretch of road to have a quick demo on how powerful the engine is, and with this manual transmission, you can easily perform second gear wheel spins quite easily even before the red line is achieved. So let's just have one go. See that? Okay, that was fun. Okay, now coming to the refinement. Well, to be honest, it is definitely much refined than the previous generation. But still, right now I'm in third gear, around the speed of 40. And let us just accelerate to understand how much of an improvement it is there. Well, I don't know whether you can hear this, but still, it does feel a lot truck-like, which is a part of the Fortuner experience though. But at higher RPMs uh, and higher speeds, it is definitely much more refined than the previous generation. Also, I would like to point out that the top-mounted intercooler, which was the hood vent, is now out, and Toyota get to do a complete damping on the entire bonnet. So that also aids to the entire refinement levels. We can have a quick discussion on another engine offering by Toyota, which is the 2.7 liter petrol. We understand why Toyota wanted to give a petrol offering in the Fortuner, uh, understanding the diesel ban in the northern part of the country. But if they had to give a petrol option, why not the 4 liter V6? And why the 2.7 liter VVTi engine? That V6 would have been a proper monster. And there's no point in offering the 2.7. Not that the 2.7 is good on fuel economy. By giving the V6, Toyota would have easily become the hero of the segment by giving the first V6, a petrol V6 in this segment. So yes, I want to criticize Toyota for that. They should have taken that bold move of giving a petrol V6, because anyway, offering a petrol in the Fortuner in India was a bold move. So why not go all out? Okay, so the next up is the gearbox. Gone is the old truck-like tall gear lever of the first generation Fortuner, and in comes an all-new 6-speed manual transmission. This one is from the RC series of Toyota gearboxes, RC61F to be precise. And the shift quality has gone up by a vast improvement, and it really feels a much short throw gearbox now. And special mention goes to the multi-cone synchro mesh mechanism used in this 6-speed manual gearbox of the RC61F, which actually improves the gear shift quality to a large extent, and it is much more pleasurable than it was in the first generation. So really good thing in this new Fortuner is the gear shift quality. Also with this 2.8 liter 420 Newton meters paired with this gearbox, it's really fun to play around the torque wave, which actually is accessible from as low as 1400 RPM. And to top everything up, what you get is a added 6th gear, which truly makes this a proper cruise mobile. But it is best to actually put in the 6th gear only after 80 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, some amount of vibrations actually come into the cabin, which is understandable. So the manual variants also get something which is called as the intelligent manual transmission, which is the world's first in this segment. So what this IMT does is that whenever you want to change a gear, it rev matches for you, and it is the most prominent when you are downshifting. So the purpose of the IMT is to eliminate all the jerks during the gear changes to provide a properly seamless shifting experience. Alright, now talking about the ride handling and the suspension department, but starting off with the steering, as we are at a red light. The steering has retained the old hydraulic unit, and at low speeds it is relatively loose compared to the previous generation Fortuner. Loose might not be the right word, light would be the correct word. But I'm happy they've retained the old school hydraulic unit, and at higher speeds it really gives you much more confidence when you're driving this SUV fast. Which comes to the suspension, definitely the ride quality has improved in this generation. Credit goes partly to the technology which is called the pitch and bounce control in the Fortuner. So what the pitch and bounce control system does is that with the real-time inputs from the wheel speed sensor, the engine torque is modulated. For example, if you are right now on a flyover, and if because of the expansion joint the nose lifts up, the torque in the engine will slightly go dim so that the nose comes down. To give the Fortuner a very balanced ride when going over undulations of flyovers or some unpatched, unpaved sections of the roads. Another thing which I was worried about at high speed handling of this car was that this car right now is not a full-time four-wheel drive. And definitely it becomes a rear-wheel drive when not in 4H mode. In extreme conditions during cornering, you might feel less connected as you were in the previous generation. A quick talk about the tires as well. This one is getting the 18 inches, 265/60 R18 to be specific. But the 4x2s are getting the older first generation wheel size and the tire size, which is 265/65 R17s. The joke is that the 4x4s are getting highway terrains and the 4x2s are getting all terrains, which I simply don't understand what Toyota is doing here. Probably the only sensible understanding here can be that the all terrains were not available in this size. Whatever may be the reason. Like last time in the first generation, the Dunlops were imported. And these tires which I checked, these are like the Bridgestone Dueler highway terrains. These are also made in Thailand. So anyway, if you're going to import, just import the all terrains for the 4x4. What's the point of having highway terrains on the 4x4? An absolute goof up by Toyota in this department. The Fortuner this time is a part-time four-wheel drive and the system is called the Sigma 4. Though we couldn't really test the Fortuner's 4x4 artillery, but whatever trail driving we did, the Fortuner did it effortlessly. It gets an electronic transfer knob to switch from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive high, and also you get a four-wheel low option. To complement this, you do get the new active traction control called the A-Track. Also this time around, the ground clearance has increased by 4 mm from the previous 221 to the now 225 mm. Okay, now coming to the interiors. In the first generation, the Innova, the Hilux and the Fortuner all had near identical interiors. Whereas in the second generation, all these three cars are having different interiors specific to their needs. Speaking of the Fortuner right now, this has been a much needed change in the interior department. And as you can see, the three top things which you would love in an interior, which is metal, wood and leather. All three things are present and in abundance. I really love this design element, laying vertical in front of you. The steering wheel as well is having leather and wood. We get leather top instrument cluster and we get this leather glove box, which is a cooled one. And everything feels solid and well put together. And that is what you expect of a Toyota. That is what you're paying for actually. Again, now speaking about the steering wheel, it feels very nice to hold. The haptics are spot on. As well, there is a bit of piano black treatment on the steering wheel, which is a nice touch. Overall, the instrument cluster, the dials are very easy to read. The blue treatment also is slightly on the funky side, not old school. And in the MID, you get various information right from the navigation to the compass, to the audio and other eco and power mode settings are shown here. Just like any Toyota, the AC feels absolutely phenomenal for Indian conditions. It cools you very fast and I think the knobs also are feeling very premium to touch and feel. The only two things which I want to criticize in the entire interior are firstly this rubber housing for the USB, which is very easily removable and it's probably made of a thermoplastic elastomer or maybe silicone. But once it's out, I don't know how to put it back in because it takes a great amount of effort to get it back in, but it still doesn't stay. So I have to put it somewhere else. There's another button here, which is the parking sensor off button. Who would want to switch off the parking sensors in a car this big? Even though there is a camera, but why would you need to switch off the parking sensors? This was there in the previous generation as well. And speaking of parking sensors, there are no front parking sensors in the Fortuner, which is a real bad thing at this price point. So not good, Toyota. A quick word about the infotainment system. The infotainment system feels very modern in this car and a welcome change. The touch sensitivity is just fine. It's just that it wants to beep first and react later. That is not a good thing. And yes, you get navigation standard as well. Also, this time around, the Fortuner is feature packed and there are features like the cruise control. There are 7 airbags and this is a great safety kit added to the Fortuner, which had only 2 airbags in the last generation. So fantastic. And overall, my favorite feature being the LED headlamps. These LED headlamps give absolute bright illumination at night and are a welcome move. And LED headlamps into this segment, I think they are a segment first. So this is really good by Toyota, that giving the latest and the best technology into this model. Okay, now coming to the middle row. As you can see, there is no shortage of space. Definitely the front seat has been pulled right up. Overall, it is a very airy cabin. Now coming to the seat comfort, uh, I want to point out the lower back to mid back region where the older generation Fortuner seat was not that comfortable. This has contoured that and has really made the middle row a much better place to be in. Also, now we get the armrest, which is right in middle 50-50 in the middle row. The previous armrest was positioned more to the 40 side because it was a 60-40 split. Now it is almost a 50-50 split. And definitely you can recline this seat to and fro, and you can probably get this row slightly more in the front to make passengers at the back feel more comfortable and provide more legroom. Okay, now time to get in the last row. The mechanism has simplified now. With this one-touch mechanism, you can easily get into the last row and make yourself feel comfortable. Okay, now I'm in the last row, and to be very honest, I'm not feeling that uncomfortable here. For short journeys, for my body size, it's still decently comfortable. But the drawback here is in the first generation, there was no protrusion downwards to accommodate this lamp out here. So this might fiddle with the head of the passenger, which is not a good thing. Overall, I think, yes, another quick point. Many reporters have said the Endeavour has the power fold-down seats. The Fortuner doesn't have power fold-down seats for a simple reason, because Fortuner gets reclinable rear seats. So now finally, to conclude things, I definitely feel the Fortuner has the same potential of the first generation to dominate the market again like it did in the first generation. But the pricing should have been slightly more aggressive. Like in the Australian market, they have priced the Fortuner under the Endeavour, the Everest, which is out there. But the Fortuner has always been a segment leader in the market, and the numbers prove so. Very recently, I read a stat that it crossed 1 lakh units sale in India since its launch from 2009. And with this new generation, it is going to help that further. And the competition needs to worry. And by competition, I mean the Ford Endeavour. And on that note, thanks for watching.